Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas to you on this special Christmas edition of This is NNOA, our weekly podcast featuring news, views, and perspectives of the greatest affinity group ever, the National Naval Officers Association. And I'm Captain Rick Wright, host of the program that is produced and directed by Reuben Wright III. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of our great sea services, Merry Christmas to you. This has been a tough year, 2020. But today we want to spotlight in particular all of our young junior officers of the United States Navy, the United States Marine Corps, and the United States Coast Guard with a special Christmas gift. And that Christmas gift is none other than Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, United States Navy retired, who is our Career Development Chair of the National Naval Officer Association. She is a genius with regards to career development, and she's got all the answers to ensure that all of you who are looking for an incredible career in the United States Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. Good afternoon, good morning, or whatever time you might be watching this podcast to you, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams. Merry Christmas in the year 2020.
Merry Christmas to you, Rick. It's good to be on.
Well, everybody, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, a graduate of South Carolina State, that great school called the Bulldogs in South Carolina. And she's also
Major Stanley and I both are graduates of South Carolina State.
Wow, and that's Major General Cliff Stanley.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, Major General Cliff Stanley was Captain Leon Gilchrist's right hand when Captain Gilchrist was president of NNOA back in the early 80s.
But, you know, I was the national secretary then.
Yes. And also you weren't you vice president of the Midwest or the region of NNOA? I think you were at the
I forget which region. When I was the vice president, I had the conference to plan out in San Diego. So, yes.
Well, you are the rock, bed, and soul of NNOA, and my greatest mentor is you, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams. Now, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, you have master's degree from the Naval Postgraduate School. You've gone to Harvard. Oh, you've been all over the place, and you have a genius background in the world of mentoring and career development, and you've done your doctoral degree in education at the University of Georgia. This afternoon, let me give you a chance to give a Christmas gift to all of our young junior officers out there in the fleet trying to make it. They don't know what to do, but let me tell them this afternoon that you have the answers and you're my Christmas gift to them. Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, talk to these young junior officers this afternoon on this podcast about what they got to think about doing with regards to the world of career development.
Thank you, Rick. My research was conducted in 2015, and it was done with collaboration with NNOA. So I didn't do it by myself, and I did it with officers in NNOA, the Marine Corps, the Navy, and the Coast Guard. I had Denise McCullough-Curry, which I think you've already interviewed. I had Ahmad Williamson from the Marine Corps. And at the time, he was with Microsoft Corporation. He was doing an internship sponsored by the Marines with Microsoft. And then Captain Ivory was in Norfolk, Virginia in Safety and Marine time services. So we had a breadth of knowledge and information. So it just wasn't what I knew, it was what they knew. And so one of the things that we learned was we got mentoring pairs together. We had 40 mentoring pairs that we followed. And we used a software called Coach Simple. We reviewed four different softwares, and we used this one. We ended up in the end not recommending it for NNOA, and we made our own website because the software was to help us to follow the actions that we wanted our mentees to take, like give us your bio, a lot of the mentees we found, they were O1s, 2s, and 3s, did not have bios written. So they did not have any idea of what to do. So it was just a way to keep actions, right? So, but in the end, we decided not to use that particular software. But what we found is mentees do not understand a lot about the service that they're in and what they need to be doing. And one of the things that we found was something called political skill. So political skill, and in order not to say it incorrectly, I'm going to see if I can't locate the correct definition, but basically it's having situational awareness about what's going on in your area and about understanding the subtleties of information that you're being given by your boss, right? So you don't want to, like somebody may say the sky is blue. Well, there's a whole lot of different shades of blue, right?
Yes.
So you want to understand what that person is saying about the sky is blue. And it's called situational awareness, being aware of your boss, being aware of your supervisor and what they're saying about you. So having political skill is understanding them by understanding how others understand them. So we found that, and our group was not the only group that found this, but that diversity officers are much more lacking in political skill. So if I had to say one thing to a JO today is understand your situational awareness, understand what others are saying about you and to you, and have a network, right? Have a network to understand that everything we think is not always exactly how it is. So that is my first gift to them.
Captain, are you kind of saying that we need to look back at our training of our officers at that level before we even commission them? I'm sure it's amazing. Are they getting political awareness kind of teaching and instruction? I mean, you're an incredible professor. Did your research show deficiencies in that area?
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, and I want to read you something from RAND Corporation. You know, the military, all services use RAND Corporation to do research, right? So one of the things that we found in talent management begins early in an officer's career. A 2014 RAND study on improving the demographic of diversity in the U.S. Air Force Officers Corps reported that minority groups in the Air Force are less likely to have early markers of career success, such as high officer of merit scores from the Air Force Academy. And this follows them throughout their career. So in other words, RAND showed that diversity officers don't always get those high markers when they're at the academies. And we've seen that at the other academies, like the Naval Academy. So yes, it is a concern that we don't teach political awareness, but the purpose of the research was to say, what can an association that is looking to privilege its officers, what can they do? And this is one of the things that we can do is to, in NNOA, is to provide that situational awareness, that being aware of what is being said to you. One officer from the Coast Guard said to me when I was interviewing, so we did the mentoring dais, but we also interviewed 13 officers, flag officers in the Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. So, you know, the Coast Guard only had that one on active duty at the time. So the criteria was the flag officer had to be on active duty or only 1 year removed from active duty. So the Coast Guard only had one flag at the time. So we interviewed him, and then we interviewed 4 06s in the Coast Guard. But one of the Coast Guard officers said, you know, being okay can get you left behind. He says, I heard I was doing okay a lot of times when I was getting debriefed on my officer fit reps. He says, but the next thing I knew, I was sinking. I was having trouble. He says, but in my reviews, I was told I was doing okay. So okay is not good enough. And he pointed that out. And then another interviewee, Navy, was stationed at the Naval Academy. And I want to just give a shout out to the young lady who is now going to be the brigade commander at the Naval Academy. Yay.
Beautiful.
But what he said was, when he was looking for diversity on the brigade staff, he said every time the committee would come to me and there was no diversity on the list. And he would say, well, why? Why don't you have any diversity? Because he was a Naval Academy graduate, and they would say just what this RAND study had said. Oh, they're just not performing. They're not integrating into the academy. And he said, I knew what they were saying was that these officer markers that we looked for at the academy were being missed by the diversity officers. He says, but I told them they need to go back and they need to search again. And when they came back the second time, I don't know, they may have came back 3 times, but they finally had diversity on the list. But you got to have people in the positions to look for us, right? To advocate for us. So that's a great question about what happens to us with situational awareness, being aware of our surroundings and being aware of our leaders. But one of the other things the research said was a lot of people think that your supervisor and supervisors, especially this is good in the military, that they're your mentor, but they're not. They cannot have the bandwidth. And that was what another flag officer said. We don't have the bandwidth to mentor everybody that reports to us. So I advocate, he says, you've got to find yourself a mentor. It's not career counseling. It's not just-in-time counseling. You've got to find someone that's going to follow you throughout your career, or at least a 12-month span that understands you. So mentoring is not career counseling. It's just career counseling is a subset of mentoring.
Yes. Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, our guest today on This Is NNOA, our Christmas gift to the young junior officers out in the fleet. Captain, I have gotten many phone calls and messages from young junior officers, and I'm talking really members of the African-American families who have graduated from either the Naval Academy or the Coast Guard Academy, gotten their commission, either OCS or NROTC programs, and they come into that first command assignment, and usually they're the only African-American officer. And I've gotten phone calls of tears sometimes where young junior officers saying, Captain, I don't know what to do here. I have nobody to talk to. I'm in isolation. And of course, I said, well, we got a service that got a DNA where our folk have always fought this. But this afternoon, I've indicated to them that, you know, the National Naval Officers Association is our groups that, and by the way, tell us about the power of your program. You have a whole website with NNOA. A young junior officer who might be in trouble or feel that they're in trouble, what can they do with regards to going to NNOA and reaching out to you?
And that's what we want, is for them to become flag officers. So on the website, it's called emilitarymentoring.com, emilitary-mentoring.com, or they can go to the NNOA website and look under career development, and that will take you to e-military mentoring. But what will happen is once you're there, you can go to our one page is just-in-time counseling. We have about 15 officers out there, all pay grades and all services, all C services, that are willing to sit down and give you career counseling by phone, or we can set you up with a Zoom VTC. So you're not alone. So there are folks that want to help you. Dewan Cheney, who is doing his major command out in San Diego, California, is one of our officers and he's a pilot. We have Admiral Harris, who is Surface Warfare Officer. Admiral Pons, who is Surface Warfare Officer. We have, I can't remember the names of all of our Marines that are out there and the Coast Guard, but the point is, like you're saying, we have these tools, we want them to use them. And sometimes we're finding that the JOs don't want to be in contact with us all the time. And so that's why we did the just-in-time counseling. But let's say you want a mentor. We have a page with about 20 to 30 mentors out there that are available to mentor you, to follow you, to be with you, to talk you through situations. So this is our gift to our NNOA members, to our junior officers. Go to NNOA.org, go to career development, and then look at what we have to offer, because we're there, we're waiting on you, and we want you to be successful. And like Rick said, we want you to put on those stars.
And I think the key thing we're indicating with your incredible leadership is that you know where the minefields are in this career path of making it in our sea services. Also, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, you know, we look at the history of really our ancestry, the African-American ancestry of professional success has been an incredible story. And of course, I think so much about many of the mentors of mine who told me, said, Roosevelt, every inconceivable thing that could be thrown against us to keep us from succeeding has been done to us. And it can be done in ways that you don't understand that is happening to you. And as you talk about—
I think though, let me just add to that. What we did, 3 theories we looked at, and critical race theory is one of those. And it's like what you're saying. Our ancestors understood what was going on, that people weren't always for you. And the predominantly white institutions that our junior officers are having their careers in, the critical race theory talks about the intersections of those different communities that you're in. And I just want the JOs to understand it takes a lot of energy. And we have been there, you and I, we recognize that. And the research shows that you're moving between 2 communities. You're moving between that predominantly white institution that you work for, and then you're moving between your own culture, the people that you interact with when you're not at that job. And you know that with the Navy, we're 24/7, Air Force, Coast Guard and Marines. So, and you're on that ship, but you have a culture even on that ship of people that you can relate to. So you're moving between these 2 different cultures, the predominantly one that you work in and the one that you get your relaxation, your encouragements from. But it takes a lot of energy, and every race does not have that the way our race, diversity folks have that, moving through the 2 different cultures. It requires a lot of energy.
A lot of energy. You know, I'm really ecstatic about your doctoral dissertation. I had a chance to read it, and when you did your doctoral degree at the University of Georgia, that school, in between the hedges, the football school down in Georgia, Athens, and your doctoral dissertation has provided an incredible foundation for your abilities at showing to especially our young junior officers what they have to do. How did you enjoy doing your doctoral dissertation, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams at the University of Georgia?
You know, my son went to Georgia Tech, so that should tell you something right there. So when I told him that I was going to UGA for my doctorate, he just couldn't believe it. I go, but they have a great program. Athens is only about 40 miles from me, but the program that I was in, they had a subset here in Atlanta. So not at their Terry College, because their business college is right here in Atlanta also. But this one was located in Lawrenceville, and the instructors were just amazing. They mentored you, they walk you through, and the program is 3 years in seat. right? So I was in class for 3 years, and then as long as it took you to finish your doctorate. So it took me 1 year after the classes to get the doctorate done. And that's a pretty good time. But, you know, I have the military discipline. I understood what needed to get done. But my professor, my major professor, Laura Briarmer, started out in corporate America. And she was just all about me and women getting through that program and looking at talent management, HR, women in corporate America, women in the military. So I had a great team, but she was my lead, and I still stay in touch with her, which is one of the things the research says you should do, is stay in touch with people, network with the folks that you know, and continue that relationship. So I probably don't do as well as I would like, but I do stay in touch with her. And I belong to organizations that are HR related. And that's another thing I want to say to our junior officers. Join the professional organizations of your community. If you're engineering, look at NSBE. If you're HR, look at getting your HR certifications. Don't just let things pass you by and do the minimum of what the services are asking you to do. We have to go above and beyond. We have to go above and beyond. And I am so thankful that I chose UGA and that they worked well with me. So it was a good fit.
You know, the one point I think about the National Naval Officers Association is that when I first discovered NNOA, I had just gotten my commission. Let me clear my throat on this. I got my commission in February of 1981, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams. And about 3 or 4 months later, I got a phone call from the commanding officer, who was Commander Mike Allens, who was the commanding officer of NRD Buffalo. I want to send you and Chuck down to the NNOA convention. And I didn't know what NNOA was. So I told the skipper, I said, yes, skipper, love to. The convention of 1982 in Norfolk, Virginia was at the Waterside Hotel there at right on the Elizabeth River. And that opening session, Vice Admiral Lawrence Chambers, who was the second graduate of the United States Naval Academy at Annapolis, Maryland, African-American grad, was the keynote speaker to kick things off. And he said, you all have got to get out of Washington, D.C. And he said, all of you have gotten your commissions and you're in Washington, you got to get out into the fleet. You got to get back out into your specialties. And if you find yourself all alone, you have got to take charge and get the job done.
And that's what's going to get you promoted, is staying in your specialty. But you know, one thing about NNOA conferences and symposiums is you can walk up and introduce yourself to a flag officer.
Yes.
Unheard of in a lot of other spaces, right? But Admiral Chambers, Admiral Gravely, Admiral Harris, Admiral Pons, Admiral Wilson, the list just goes on, and Admiral Scott. I mean, you name them, they come and they're ready to talk to a junior officer, right? And the symposium has career counseling on one morning. And so we set it up so the JOs can talk to someone in their area of expertise, like a surface officer or a subsurface officer or aviator or HR, but you can talk to that person, and all three services do it. So the Marines will do it, the Navy will do it, and the Coast Guard will do it. So you get one-on-one time to talk about what it is that is a concern to you. So what we tell the JOs to do, bring your fit reps, bring your reports, anything that you have that will show this officer that's going to talk to you in 15 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, what it is you need to do. I remember Admiral Pringle was one of our persons that did career counseling. He says, Mary, this is a great idea and a great session, but I think I can do about 2 or 3 in 30 minutes. You know, I can look at their reports and I can tell exactly what's going on and explain to them. But that's because he had the expertise. And so that is one of the things about NNOA. And now we're doing a virtual symposium. Last year, we're talking about what the avenue is going to be this year. But the one thing that NNOA will always offer you is the ability to contact a service representative in your area of expertise. Again, go to the website. We have officers out there that are standing by to talk to you. We have officers that want to mentor you. You just have to ask. You have to make that request. We don't want to push it on you, but we want you to make that request.
Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, our last symposium that we had out in San Diego, 2019. You've just brought up a story that I will say this afternoon as we get ready to close things down. There was a young Coast Guard Lieutenant JG. I can't remember his name, but he was from the Marine Safety Unit, I think in Houston, Texas. And he was at the airport getting to fly out. And he came up to me and nearly had tears in his eyes. And he said, Captain Wright, thank God for all of you in NNOA. He said, in my wildest imagination and dreams of being a young Coast Guard officer, did I ever realize that by attending NNOA, that I would have the chance to sit and talk to the Commandant of the United States Coast Guard, Admiral Schultz, out on that beautiful patio that night after we had our gala banquet. Here is a young African-American Lieutenant JG, United States Coast Guard, full of energy, everything, having a chance to be with the Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard all by himself for over an hour or so.
And you know, the one thing about that, Rick, is that the atmosphere is informal because we had games for them to interact with, and you had an opportunity to be on a different level with a flag officer, right? It wasn't formal, it wasn't starchy.
Yes.
We were playing games and interacting and having conversations. Yes, you could go off to the side, but the other part of that was it was so informal. So you were getting to know that admiral and they were getting to know you. And one of the things as the career development chair that I tell all of the JOs that go to those meetings and go to those receptions, don't leave without at least 2 to 3 names and telephone numbers. So and email address, so you can talk to them later and thank them for their time. That is always the key, is staying in contact. And the first thing you can do to stay in contact, JOs, is get a name, get a telephone number, get an email address, and send a nice little email that says, thank you. I appreciate the time that you took to talk to me at the NNOA symposium. And make sure you put NNOA symposium in there because it's great advertisement and help for us because we want the services to support NNOA who supports the junior officer. So good catch, Rick. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, members of the fleet, aviation, subsurface, the Marines, and the Coast Guard and the Navy, this is NNOA, our weekly podcast and our special Christmas edition. And we have had today an incredible guest, the bedrock of the National Naval Officers Association, especially in the area of mentoring and career development, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, United States Navy, retired, living in the luxury of Atlanta, Georgia, and she's standing by 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to all of our young junior officers. If you need help, she's standing by to get you going and keeping your careers alive, well, and beautiful, because there's nothing like success, and success is written all over our mission with the National Naval Officers Association. Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, I know you got another question. Go ahead.
Well, I think I should tell them that my email address is careers@nnoa.org. That's careers@nnoa.org. And you can reach me anytime, and I will definitely respond back with the information you're asking for.
It has been a pleasure, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, you beautiful sister of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, been a brother of Omega, you know. Merry Christmas to you. And let's hope that the year 2021 brings us even greater joy than 2020, because this has been a tough, difficult year. But God is on the throne this afternoon. And also, I'm thinking in particular, this is a pleasure today to have you on, because today is the 19th of December in the year 2020. But on the 19th of December, 1979, the day was a day in which was a homegoing services for my late mother, Ms. Lily Mae Wright Garrett, who is also Reuben Wright III's grandmother, who is the executive director of this particular podcast this afternoon. She loved the United States Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard, and she was one of those great African-American mothers of the 1950s and 60s who fed all of our sailors from our bases in the South who were faced with hostility, racial, after, you know, a segregation was going on at the time. But today, I just want to remember my mother, and she's smiling in heaven, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, the two of us having the opportunity to use this technology to talk to everybody all over the world and all the membership of the National Naval Officers Association. I could talk to you forever, you know that. And of course—
well, we thank you for your mother who took care of our sailors and Marines and Coast Guardmen, because that brings up an admiral that I interviewed was doing his aviation training in Pensacola, Florida. And he said, to tag on to what you're saying, is that the atmosphere was so negative for him when he was in Pensacola. And who would have thought, right? Pensacola, the cradle of naval aviation, he's down there for training. But he had that same type of need for some place to go on the outside, where somebody like your family would take them in, feed them, give them some relaxation, give them some rest from what they were dealing with in their training or in their careers on the naval base or Coast Guard or the Marines. So thank you to your mother.
Thank God for you too, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams. Our guest today on This is NNOA, our special Christmas edition to all of you wonderful brothers and sisters out there in the fleet. Stand tall, bravo Zulu to you. I salute you, Captain Dr. Mary McAdams, United States Navy, retired. God is on the throne, and we'll keep NNOA's mission alive and well. Check you out next week with another great guest. I'm Captain Dr. Rick Wright, host of the show, and today's program has been produced and directed by Roosevelt Reuben Wright III. See you later, Mary. Love you.